Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of SuperFantaFi. This being a show about TV shows that are of the supernatural, fantasy, and/or science fictional genre. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about Bulgasal Immortal Souls Episode 10. A great episode. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. First and foremost, I ain't gonna lie to you. The ending of this episode made me cry. To the point, I'm never shy from admitting, like, when a TV show makes me cry, or a movie or whatever makes me cry. I cried. My nose was runny, tears falling down my face. I had to, hold it back. I was choking up that entire final scene. I want to say the last time that happened was when his, son and wife died in, episode 1. I think I got choked up then, too, but I was like, my God. Because obviously you're, hoping that everything's going to work out, but it was a race against time. It was just a matter of who got there first. Sadly, he ended up getting there first, but let's start it from the beginning before we even get to the ending. My God. Okay, so we're picking up after last episode where Hwal realizes that Do-yeon is his son reincarnated. So now he's going to do everything he can, because he's like, right, if he can't go anywhere, I know where the place he would go. He would go to Yote, so he tries to race there, but then he got word about, Yote was like, oh, you're not home? Okay, don't worry about it. And so, because neither one of them was home at the time, so Yote's in this position where Hwal's in this position, what do I do? Do I go? I can't keep going after Do-yeon because, he's back at the house, so he turns back around, and Siho's, quote-unquote, the only one there, and obviously he teases it, but she doesn't understand what he's teasing at, but he's like, yeah, basically all three of you, Sangan, Hwal, and you, all kind of caught in this, situation that you don't even realize. But he's like, right, I won't hurt you, because it's also if he hurts her, he knows Hwal won't forgive him, because it's right, so I'm not gonna hurt you, so just tell me where your sister is. And I thought that was kind of a beautiful thing of her hiding in the closet. I was like, oh, of course that's going to be traumatic for you. I mean, the last time you were hiding in that closet was when he showed up originally to kill your sister and your mom. But it sure turns out Hwal went in there before, right, if eventually Yote has to come here, if you hide, because the whole lie was no, those two are inseparable. But even Yote's why would Hwal bring her, especially if Hwal's going to my place? There's no way he'd take her, just because that'd be basically putting her right in my hands. So, but I thought it was really sweet that he was right, you don't have to go into the closet alone, because it was a tight, small, dark place, and so he was there with her, and he covered her eyes and just close your eyes and pretend that it's not that, and do you feel better? So she kind of did that. Luckily, Hwal showed up in time too, and it's cool, we're gonna have a lovely chat, so let's go. And on a drive, he ended up crashing the car and sending Yote flying out the window, and we got some confirmation. He didn't know who Do-yeon really was, but he's oh, it is funny how it works out, huh? He's I guess I should have pieced it together. Your son 600 years ago was blind, wasn't he? And now I should have known. Do-yeon ended up being blind. He didn't piece it together until he saw Hwal's reaction. He's oh, why? Who is Do-yeon? Is he someone important? He's oh, of course I should have pieced it together. And he's laughing because it's yeah, he finds it a little funny that here they are. It's but sadly, Do-yeon did go to Yote's place, but Miss Kim, the monster, was waiting for him. Use him. At first I was because it seems later on, based on what she said, because she's oh, you're going to lose that woman and your son, so she must immediately... That's the interesting thing, that she figured it out, but I guess based on how he was reacting, she knew that. I don't know. I guess I just thought that was interesting. Because they never met, because obviously, they never met, 600 years ago, and I guess that was him playing dumb, because if he recognized, because he was saying, because the way Miss Kim explains it later on, it seems Yote did know the truth about, Do-yeon. It's just, I guess he was playing ignorance in front of Hwal, because if he meant yeah, that was your son, it's then you knew who my son was. That means you had to have met him in a previous life to have known him, so it would have put some pieces together. So I guess that's why he was feigning ignorance, because he kept trying to deny, yeah, I wasn't the one that killed your family. It was Sangan the whole way. It wasn't me. either way, Miss Kim ended up kidnapping him, and then it's like, oh, no, you don't have to worry about it. I'm not going to, because I won't be able to kill you anyway. I'm not even trying to lure you out with him. She just planned on killing him because it's like, right, I just want to see you in pain. It is so interesting that it's like, man, I'm paying you back for killing me in your previous life. It's like, yeah, it is kind of sad that, like, all this is coming back to bite him. Like, all he did was wanting to hunt monsters. Obviously, it's because of, well, monsters were killing people, but also with his cursed fate, it's just, life led him down an interesting path. If he had never been the cursed child that he was, the path would have never led to him killing all these monsters, and not just the monsters, but also the people he cares about wouldn't have gotten dragged into, as he says, his karma. So it is just kind of interesting to think, like, maybe if his life had gone differently, none of them would be where they are right now. But it is sad that, like, no, these monsters want revenge. It's like, you killed me in a previous life. Yeah, because you were killing people. It's like, yeah, but I'm doing me. I'm doing my thing. Like, and this one in particular, she made it clear back then, like, oh, I'm going to hold a grudge against you. Like, amongst all the monsters, she's the one that gave the final line of, like, oh, yeah, like, I will track you down. Like, I will, like, she made it clear, just kind of like Song-An did, but, like, oh, like, we will be intertwined. I will find you again. Like, our lives will, like, it pledged revenge on him. So out of any of the monsters, it seems like she has, like, the biggest grudge against Wall. So, but then it's like, oh yeah, like, Dooyeon, I'm just going to end up killing him. So, but Yote ends up offering help. He's like, no, you know what? I will help. Just because at the end of the day, he does care about Dooyeon. It is the irony, because in a weird way, like, once again, it's all, like, connected. I mean, in a weird way, they are kind of family. In some sense of the word, because once again, like, Detective Kwan in a previous life was his father, so, but, and obviously in a previous life, he was, Dooyeon's grandfather, so, it is, you know, so, there is some, I think, even aside from, like, I don't know if he even connects to those dots, but at the very least, for the past 10 years, he's looked after Dooyeon, so, like, of course he does care about him. That's the problem. I'm like, yeah, even this monster has a heart from time to time. And so he's like, right, I'll help you. I'll give you Miss Kim's real name. And so working with Detective Kwan, they ended up looking into her past. When she was a little girl, her parents were, like, bludgeoned to death in their sleep, and she slept through it. But everyone thought she was kind of suspicious, but to be fair, she was an elementary school girl, so no one believed that she would be capable of it. And obviously when Hwal sees her, it reminds him of, like, the first time they encountered. She took on the form of a little girl. That might have been what she originally looked like before she took on, like, her true monstrous form. It was in the form of a little girl. And now it's a situation of, like, right, I forgot, she does have the power to control people's minds, so it's like, probably convince somebody to kill her family. Then it turns out, like, oh, her husband, her in-laws, her in-laws ended up getting brutally murdered. And then, like, her husband was adamant about protecting her, like, oh, she didn't do it, and you're like, oh, she must have mind controlled her husband to do it. Why didn't she just kill him too? I guess that should have been a sign that something was weird about that. The fact that she let him live but kill her in-laws is like, oh, because in actuality, he's the one that did it, not her. I mean, it might have been a joint adventure of, like, oh, let's kill them together. It's because it turns out he's a monster. I mean, once again, it's such an interesting thing. Like, hey, monsters getting reincarnated and having children of their own, and then now, like, monsters finding each other in these new lives. So it's like, that's, they keep expanding upon that in interesting ways. So I think that's kind of fascinating. But luckily, Hwal knew exactly where to go to find Miss Kim, because he's like, right, of course, she would go back to her home, the place 600 years ago, her forest. Even when she was there with Dooyeon, it's like, yeah, it's like coming back to my hometown or something. It's like, yeah, it's your home territory. And she's smiling because she feels good to be back. But obviously, she's like telling Dooyeon, like, yeah, I get it. Like, we were both betrayed by Yote, so it's like, you know, I know, like, look at what he did to my neck. Because Dooyeon doesn't know, like, all he knows is, like, oh, my secretary went on vacation. Maybe if Yote had warned him ahead of time, be like, yeah, stay away from her, she's a very bad person, but he didn't. Because she promised him, like, oh, I'll show you where Yote ended up burying your brother. So. But, it is interesting, too, because, despite everything, like I said, Hwal ends up having to work with the people, you know, it's like, right, this is a time that we need all hands on deck with this, so all even people we don't enemies and foes of the past, we have to all work together if it means saving Duyan. Because for him, he blames himself. It's like, I didn't recognize my son, and Sungun's like, he was a little boy at the time. She's like, he's like, no, should recognize his habits, his voice, but I didn't. It's like, it's like, now my son is dragged into this again, and it's like, it's my fault. Like, because he, once again, I said it last episode, he wasn't there for his son. He got him, pushed his son and kept him at a distance in a previous life. And it's like, what did I do? I pushed him away again, so I knew that was going to strike an even deeper chord with him. It's like, I pushed my son away before. Now I'm pushing him away. I did it again. And now his life's in danger. Yet again, I put his life in danger. He was in that situation in the first place because he wanted to go off to kill Bulgasal to kill Bulgasal, to not only lift his own curse, but also to save it. But it's also because he did that, then not only did his son die, but his wife died as well. I mean, his father kind of died in the process because of all that as well. So it all hits hard for him, So it's like he's got to do it, whatever it takes to save his son this time around. So at the same time, Detective Kwan ended up running into Yute because he was like, right, get in, like, protecting, finding Duyan is like top priority right now. And even Kwan is like, yeah, I think he actually cares about the kid. So they go together to look into the husband who was like a vet or whatever. And on the drive there, like, Kwan is like, why? Like, what do you do? Like, I love that, like, because Kwan's asking all these questions, like, what do you, like, even him having an acknowledge, like, yeah, despite everything, like, yeah, I didn't use him, I just asked a favor of him. He's like, yeah, I guess at the end of the day, I do just care about that kid a lot more than I thought I would, He was just someone like, oh, I took him, but I grew to care about him a lot. And so, I don't know, it changes everything. Like, I don't know whether around, like I said in the previous episode, I brought up, like, oh yeah, Duyan was talking to him and his hands were shaking. Like I said, not unless that was him being in pain, but it seemed like he didn't like the way Duyan was talking to him. But I guess it's like, the fact is that, maybe that was just related to the pain thing, or maybe it's just a thing of him having to fight his instincts to just, like, immediately kill him. But it's like, yeah, because he does care about the kid, He tells Kwan, like, oh, I won't kill you, but it's like, he won't tell him why. At first, you're kind of like, okay, like I said, previously you would think is, oh, because you're Hwal's dad in a previous life, so of course he wouldn't. But now it's like, no, he's related to you in a previous life as well, so there's some part of him that probably, despite everything, still can't bring himself to, like, want to hurt his dad or whatever, despite the issues in the past life. But I think also circling back to it, because kind of correlating to that, I think when he saw Duyan, he saw a lot of himself. Like, he saw, especially like a sick brother, like, that was him. Because even he said, like, right, I did everything I could to save his brother, but it wasn't enough. He had a rare disease. I could help Duyan, but I couldn't help him, And he's like, I wasn't trying to lie to him on purpose, but it's like, maybe on some deeper level, like, the fact is, like, sadly, that comes too natural to you. Maybe that could be the argument that's made. But ultimately, Hwal and, Sungun make it to the woods. Obviously, it's pretty dark, but I also thought that was kind of a cute thing of, like, she fell on like a rock, kind of made her twist her ankle a little bit, and Hwal extends out his hand, even starts like kind of pulling her along. She's like, you don't have to hold my hand. And I was like, oh, it's really sweet how things have kind of developed between them. It's like, yeah, even he, Miss Leah said in previous times, like, oh, would have never guessed that he'd get so close to his mortal enemy. Even he's surprised by it, because, like, now everything's up in the air for him. Doesn't know what to believe anymore, right? So, but they cross paths with Miss Kim and her husband, and I love that thing of her being like, "You're not going to be able to save them both. You're going to lose them." He's like, "No, this time I'm going to save both of them," and he grabs her and, like, jumps off a cliff with her. I was like, "Yep, you're dead." But then, even then, she managed to drag herself out of there pretty banged up. Luckily, they were also able to deal with her husband as well. Because the thing he was getting out of this was killing Sungun because of Hawal's soul. But once again, unlike all the other monsters, she remembers. She's not attracted by the soul. She wants Hawal. It's like, but I know I can't kill you, but I can hurt everyone else around you and make you suffer. Because she's like, oh, I want to see that pain in your face. It's like, that's not the look I want. I want more. I want more, and more. But luckily, they ended up finding out where Yun was. Like, he was drugged and hidden at the husband's place, because where he killed his parents, because he's like, oh, I love the place because there's blood still there. So he kind of got off on that. So they raced there at the same time. I love that as she's getting in the car, I'm like, is she really just going to be able to get away? And it's like, Yote's there waiting. It's like, hey. And it's like, okay. She's like, don't worry. I'm going to use Do Young to, I'm going to kill him to hurt Hawal or whatever. And then he was kind of like, oh, that's such a shame. It's like, you shouldn't have said that, because at the end of the day, I'm actually here to save that kid. I care about that kid. And then she starts busting out laughing. He's like, what's so funny about that? I thought she was going to bring up you, a monster, caring about him. I find it funny. It's like, oh no, I told him a secret. Your secret. The secret that Hawal shouldn't know. And I was like, wait, is it that? I was like, I'd assume it'd have to be that big thing, and it turns out it is. And she's like, yeah, this way, like, you and Hawal will be in so much pain. It's like, she won't be alive to see it, but now she's already set everything in motion. And so Yote ends up killing her, and then he remembers the memory. So it was him that was responsible for killing his family, because he has a memory, and he's just kind of like, oh, you know, it's kind of almost like, what a nuisance. And so Duyan wakes up, and when he does, he leaves, and luckily, who is the first person he called is Hawal, because he's like, right, he's like, I got kidnapped. Again, he's like, maybe because I look like I'm a wealthy person's kid or something, or from a wealthy family, but, you know, you're the strongest person I know. And you know, Hawal's like, I've been looking all over you. He's like, I've looked for you for so long, and I'm sorry. He's like, you're sorry. I'm the one that deceived you and betrayed you. He's like, I've been looking for you, and I'm going to come and find you. Stay where you are. He's like, I know where you are, and you can tell Duyan's happy about it. He's like, really? Kind of like, yeah, like, Hawal forgiving him meant a lot to him. He's like, you know? But sadly, Yote got there first. The thing is, Hawal heard him over the phone before Yote could crush it. And that's the sad thing. Like, you just don't want Hawal to know. Like, he can suspect, but never truly knowing is going to be the issue. Because, like, you know, it's like, okay, what did she tell you? What did she tell you? It's like, yeah, some nonsense about, like, you killed me and my mom 600 years ago. He was like, okay, you know, if it was something else, it would. But the thing is, he can't let Hawal know the truth. Because if Hawal knows the truth, it's going to change everything. So he's like, no, I can't let him know. I can't let him know. Like I said, keeping him unsure, because he's still in that unsure territory. I mean, you killing him isn't going to help, because it's not like you can be like, oh, Miss Kim already. It's like, no. Hawal already talked to him, knew that he was fine, and then all of a sudden he hears your voice for a little bit on the other side of the phone. He knows you killed him. And the thing is, like, it's like, fine, I'll answer your question, just like, tell me where my brother is buried. It's like, fine, I'll tell you, just answer my question first. And he does. And sadly, Dunya never gets to know. And he's like, right, I guess, like, you mattered a lot more to me than I kind of realized. I've watched you grow up and everything. And he proceeds to stab Duyan. And it broke him to his core too, and he starts tearing up, because I'm sure he's going to turn his back on Sungun. It's like, right, none of this will be possible if it wasn't for you, so this is all on you as well. But we've seen who he was in the past, that he is someone to sacrifice kill his own brother, and then blame it on Sungun. So it is funny and interestingly enough that he would. I didn't pay close enough attention. You don't think Hawal's son is actually his brother reincarnated or something like that? You don't think? Once again, like, they have such deeper connections. He killed his own brother. Duyan's brother died. Like, he was only able to help one of the brothers, and that's the one he kind of took under his wing. And, you know, because even he was like, right, like, I can't let him go, because if he got that eyes, I won't have anyone to play games with anymore. And not only did he die, you killed him with your bare hands. I'm saying all this. We don't know for sure if he's dead, because he could just be like, but he lost a lot of blood, but it seemed pretty definitive. Maybe we have to wait till the next episode to see. I did not watch the previews. I don't watch the previews because I always, you know, because it's, you know, I don't want to know what's going on to the next episode. So we just have to wait to see where the next episode takes us with that. But he might still be alive. I don't know. Either way, like I said, I was bawling like a baby. I was crying and just choking up and runny nose and everything. Do-yeon, like, being held in Kwan's arm. Kwan's, like, calling out to him because he gets there first. Heartbreaking. Doesn't even, like, it's like history repeating itself. Like, losing his grandson yet again. It's like, despite everything, it's like, they were a makeshift family. And it's like, well, even deeper, they are an actual family. They just don't remember it. And it's like, you know, and then Sung-on being there, obviously heartbroken by it, and then Hwal holding, he's like, no, please. He's like, I'm sorry I failed to protect you. He's like, please, you have to live. And it's just like, I was like, I had to stop myself. I had to try to hold it back, but I couldn't. Like, I could feel the tears flowing down my face, bro. I was like, oh, this is so heartbreaking. Like I said, it is literally history repeating. Him holding his dead son in his body. And it's like, once again, after I pushed you away, yet again, fate led us to this because I pushed you away. I didn't recognize you when I should have. You've been my main focus for the past 600 years, wanting you and your mom to be able to live a happy life together in some new life, to free you from my karma, and here we are, playing it over again, you know? And that's a heartbreaking. And then, like, Siho back at the house, like, when he got stabbed, she felt a sharp pain, and she just, like, something's wrong, and it's just, like, she doesn't even know it, but now you wonder, it's like, right, because she's most likely having a daughter, maybe. I was about to say if she's having a son, maybe. I don't know if the reincarnation would be that quick. Because it took about 50 years, well, it took a long time for Sung-on to reincarnate. It's not like an immediate thing of like, and you're born into the world again. It's like, no, it can take a while. You might end up skipping like some time. It was like at least what, 30 years or something before she got born again, maybe, you know, 30 plus years before she was born again. So who knows when the next time he could potentially end up getting born again if he dies. Like I said, not necessarily next episode because the ambulance or whatever shows up in time. So it could be a thing of like, no, he was saved this time. Maybe they're able to get to him in time. Once again, it seems like he's dead, but all they say is like he's losing a lot of blood, so maybe they will get to him in time. Hopefully they can save him. And hopefully Siho, because that's the thing, like either he dies in this and the baby, instead of being like stillborn like she was in the previous life, maybe she'll actually be born this time and he'll get to meet his daughter. Hopefully he gets to have his son and his daughter in this life again. Maybe not. I don't know, but like I said, that was a crushing and heartbreaking way to end this episode, you know? So, but that's the thing, like, despite not telling him the truth, like, he knows that you killed Do-yeon, and it's like, right, you had to have your reasons why you killed him, but he won't know what those reasons are, because she never told him what she ended up telling. Well, because all Do-yeon said was like, oh yeah, Miss Kim, she told me something odd. And it's like about, I think, Yute, and he was like, wait, what did he, that's all he knows. So he can surmise, but he will never know for sure. So Yute could still spin that, but it still won't change. The fact is, you killed, like I said, he may try to, but like, once again, he heard your voice before you crushed the phone. So I don't know if he can be able to lie his way out of this, but, it is definitely going to be interesting to see where the next episode ends up taking us with all of this. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and goodbye.